Hello guys, how's everybody doing? Welcome to You and I Quilting. Today we're going to be starting on our March quilt along. It will probably go into April a little bit when it comes to the embellishments of this quilt. Today we're going to work on our 10-inch blocks. I'll let you know what you need and how to cut it and all that. But right here is the quilt that I found that I thought would be cute, and the embellishments are the little trees, the clothesline, and the little lemonade stand. I'll walk you through every bit of that at the end of it when we get ready. So we'll get started today. We're going to be making these bigger houses today. So, let me pull my papers over here. You're going to start out with 5 10-inch squares. It says you need 1 green, 1 pink, 1 orange, 1 purple, and 1 blue. So I just picked out what I thought was cute and cut what I needed. I was using some leftover fat quarters. So that's how I was doing mine. You can use whatever colors you want to use. It's no big deal. So in order to cut these 10 by 10s, this will be the same cutting way that you do for all of them. All the 10 by 10s anyway. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to line it up here in the corner so I know that I got it right. Okay. So now, we're going to come over to the 3 and cut it off. So we'll end up having a 3 by 10. Okay. So you're going to do all of them like this. I had them all stacked, but this one, so all of them are cut out for me. So now, that is our 3 by 10. Okay. Now you're going to come over 4, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4. So you'll have a 4 by 10. You're going to cut it, okay? Write this down so I don't forget. This is a 3 by 10 right here. And it's done, so it's out of the way. Okay, so we have a 4 by 10 right here. So now we're going to turn it. We'll come back to this piece in a minute. So we're working on this one. So now we're turning it. We're going to cut 7. Okay. So now we have a 4 by 7. Put my sticker on him. Slide him out of the way. Now you're going to bring this piece over. And you're going to cut it at 2, so you'll have a 2 by 4. Now this is just waste, I'm sorry, but it's the way the layout is, not me, okay? I need another sticker thing, here it is. Alright, now our strip that we didn't really do nothing with a minute ago, we're going to turn it. No, we're not, I lied. We're keeping it straight for a minute. Okay, I'm going to line it up, and we are going to cut it at 1.5. Okay, so the extra piece that you have, just push it out of the way. So now we have a 1.5 by 10. Alright, changing rulers on you. Now we're going to make 2 cuts at 2.5. So we have a 1.5 by 2.5. And another one at 2.5. So we have 1.5 by 2.5. Okay. Alright, now we're going to cut these at 2, not 2.5, 2. Okay, so now you can keep the leftovers or throw them away, whatever you do. This right here that we cut is the leftovers of the 10 by 10s. You won't use them, but you can put them up with your scraps, because this is a pretty good piece to keep. So, I mean, if I was you, I'd keep it. But these two, I'm going to let go of. I'm going to keep this and put it out of the way. Alright, so out of our 10 by 10, let's go over this one more time. You get one 3 by 10. You get one 4 by 7. You get one 4 by 2. You get two 1.5 by 2. And two 1.5 by 2.5, okay? So our layout, I'm going to have to move these out of the way because I don't have the roof cut for this one, but that's your cutout for your 10 by 10. So let me put him over here, out of my way. Alright, so our 3 by 10 is here. A 1.5 by 2.5. 1.5 by 2.5. Oop. Our 4 by 7. My ruler's messing up over here on me. We got our 4 by 2s. Come on now. They're wanting to stick on me, sorry. Alright, then you're going to have your 1.5 by 2s right here. Okay. So, now you're going to take a white or whatever color you want for your doors and your windows for the houses, okay? I'm using white. So, you need to cut 5, 2.5 by 8, and then you need 5 2-inch squares of whatever background you want to use, and that's where they're going to go. Okay? So you can kind of see the layout here once we get it together. So that's that. Okay, so we're going to work on putting this together for right now. The pattern I have says to use a 1/4 inch seam. On my sewing machine, I did that, and when I did, this right here ended up being shorter than this, and it can't be shorter than that. It needs to be the same length, because you can't go no shorter than a 10. So I ended up myself on my sewing machine having to do a scant seam. So you're just going to have to play around and see if you have, see if you have to do a scant seam or not. Like I said, I did a regular one like it said, but I had to seam rip it out and fix it. So what we're going to start with is this right here, putting it together. So we're going to put that there, and I'm going to sew straight across it, okay? Get my sewing machine a little bit closer. Well, it didn't even sew. Uh-oh. Maybe out of bobbin again, y'all. Hold on. Break time. Just kidding. Alright. I got it rethreaded. Maybe that was the problem. Let's try it again. Nope. Now you unthread it from the top. Really? Maybe I ain't meant to do this today or something. Technical difficulties, but I'll fix it. Maybe. There we go. Come on, get through the needle. There we go. Now let's try again. And she works. Okay. So now we've got that one sewed on. Now I'm going to flip this over and sew it here. Now the pattern says you're going to press these seams open, but where I'm using a scant seam to make it right, I'm just going to press it to the dark because it didn't make a difference when I made the other one. So all we're going to do is just press to the dark. No big deal there. Make sure it's nice and flat. If you need to, you can use a little bit of starch. But I'd wait, if you could, till the end, because you're going to have to starch it anyway. Alright, so now we're going to put these two together. So we're going to flip it over, and I'm going to sew straight down this side. Same thing. Whatever seam that you start with is what you need to stay with. Come on. There we go. Remember, we're pressing to the dark side. I got stuff in my way over here. It's driving me crazy. Okay. We got that pressed. So we're going to kind of push it out of the way. Alright, next we're going to work on our window. We're going to put these two together. Sew straight down that. Okay, add to the other side before I press because it's not going to affect anything. Alright, now again we're pressing to the dark. Press one side, turn it, press the other side. Okay. Now we're going to join this to that right here. Going to line it up. Remember to press to the dark. So we'll be pressing it down. Okay. Now we're going to add this top part. Now for some reason on this, we have a little bit hanging over, and I'll show you here in just a minute before I press it. Alright, so you have a teeny tiny bit on both sides hanging over, and before I press this up, if I can find my ruler, what I like to do is, since it's already lined up, just cut those little pieces off. That way you got a nice straight line, and it'll make it easier squaring up at the end, okay? Now, I'm going to press to the dark side as usual. Okay, so now we can join these two together. I know it looks like a funny house. Just trust me for a minute, okay? I promise. Because you're actually making two at one time. And they're a little bit different, but not much. Alright, so I'm going to sew down this line. Stop halfway, line up the bottom half. Go again. Okay. Now, as always, we're going to press to the dark, so we need to press to this side. I'm sorry, I don't have nothing close enough to where you can see how I'm pressing, but I'm trying to show you. Alright, so you have this part done. Now it's time to work on the roofs. Now, when you're doing the roofs, you're making two at one time. So we're going to slide this out of the way. Alright. Your roofs can be the same color or different color. In this one, I'm doing the same color. In the other one, I did separate. So one roof needs to be 4.5 by 8.5. And one roof needs to be 3.5 by 8.5. So we're going to start with the 3.5. I'm going to press this down a little bit because I got a little bit of seam there. Alright, so we're starting with the 3.5 by 8.5. Now, your background, your sky, whatever you want behind the houses will go throughout the quilt. Okay? I'm using some scrap stuff I had. Well, not scrap, but it's a little bit of yardage I had gave to me. you need to cut 2 3.5-inch squares for the 3.5 by 8.5, and then you need 2 4.5-inch squares for the 4.5 by 8.5. So, again, this 3.5, we're going to flip them over. I'm going to find my ink pen and my ruler, maybe. And we're going to mark from corner to corner all the way down, because this will be our sewing line. That way we don't mess up, and we get a good clean, crisp stitch line. Okay, so there's one. Like I said, both roofs are about the same. They're just a little bit different to give it, you know, just that little extra character to it. You know, no big deal. Alright, so we're going to take one of these, put it to the right side. So their line should be going from middle left to bottom right. We're going to stitch straight on that line. Okay, now the other one will go on the other side, and it will go from bottom left to top right middle. So we're going to stitch on that line. Okay, now I'm taking my ruler. I'm giving myself the seam allowance. Mainly I'm putting my seam allowance line on that where I stitched. It's almost like you're making a flying geese, but this one you won't have the point at the top. Okay, so we're going to press these open. Now you can put this on whichever side you want to. It's your pick. I'm going to try to alternate mine just a little bit if I can. And you'll understand at the end of it. Some will have windows and some won't, but all of them will have doors. So, there's one roof, okay? You see how it's flat on top a little bit? So there's one roof. Alright, so now we're going to work with the 4.5 by 8.5. Again, we take our 4.5. If I can keep up with a ruler here, it would help. Make our mark through the middle. Like I said, it's just like making a flying geese. And if you've ever made a flying geese, it's just like this. It's not bad. I had everything ready, but I didn't have everything marked all the way. So you're seeing this step by step. I'm not skipping anything. Alright, so take the sticker off the 4.5. Now I got a little bit of flip right there, so I'm going to press it. Just to make sure she's nice and flat. No big deal. Again, you're doing the same layout as you did here. Line it up. We're going to stitch on this line. But before you add the other side, you have to cut this side off and press it. Okay. Well, I don't know why I didn't want to. My machine just don't like me this morning, does it, y'all? Okay, that time it's stitched. So now, again, we're doing our seam allowance. Now you have to press this one open before you add the other side, because this roof will be just a little bit different. Okay. You're going to add this one. I'm going to sew straight on that line, hopefully, if it'll let me. Doing our seam allowance. Alright, so here is your two roofs that you'll be making out through this. So one's pointed and one's flat, just to give it a little bit of character, okay? So let me look here. I'm going to do the pointed one with the window. Okay, so we're going to stitch that across. You can do it as colorful or just whatever you want to do. You know, it's going to be your quilt, not mine. So do it any colors you want to do. If you want all your houses one color, let them be one color. Alright, now we're going to press that up, okay? And I know y'all are thinking, well, that's a weird house. It ain't done yet, I promise. The way they got this layout is pretty neat. So, since I have a roof with the window, I'm going to turn this around. I'm going to add my other roof down here. Just bear with me for a minute. I promise it works. You can ask Sylvia and Melissa because they helped me figure this out for a little bit because I was kind of confused. It was like something ain't right. Alright. I'm going to press that up, okay? Like I said, we're making two houses at one time. Keep that in mind when you're doing this, because all your 10 inches will be done exactly like this. So when you get them done, you should have all... How many houses are we making here for the 10 inch? One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You'll have 10. So, not too bad. So, what I do here is I'm folding it in half, okay? And I'm lining up my top with the other side. Now, I'm going to take it over here and I'm going to crease this middle. Just putting a seam in it. That's all. No big deal. Just putting a little crease in it to be my cutting line. Okay, so I pressed it down right here. And I open it up. You can see where I'm going to be cutting. Trying to get to my other paper, sorry. Okay. So we're going to line this up. Yep, that'll be right. I've lost my ruler again. So if you crease it in the middle like that, that should bring you at 8.5 by 8.5. So these should come out at 8.5 by 8.5. Okay. So there's that. Now we got a little bit of hang off right here from the house. No big deal. We're just going to trim it. So there's not much waste. We're just squaring it up a little bit better is all. Okay. So there is one house with the window. Okay. Alright, and here is the other house without a window. So there is both houses. Let's see if I can do it this way. There you go. Now y'all can see it. Alright, and the other one I did was in green. So my pointed roof, okay, was with the window. Now this pointed roof was without the window. So that's how that went. And I used two different roofs. No big deal. Like I said, you can make it as scrappy or whatever you want to do. So that's how you make these. You do the, your 10-inch squares. When you get these done, you should have 10 of these. So that is the homework for this week. Next week, we'll come back and we'll be doing our 5-inch squares. So thanks for watching. And until next time, y'all have a blessed one.